passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in, touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond.
Swing it and drive! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Watson.
Hello and welcome, Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. I'm Jared Watson along with Andy Billman. And this episode, we're going to talk about the Browns and their draft recap. After a quiet Thursday, the Browns drafted on Friday another Bayou Bengal and got a kicker over the weekend. We needed a kicker. I think that's probably a good move. I don't care how early in the draft they picked him and whether they could have got him in free agency. I'm not complaining about it. The Indians split last week, going 3-3 against the Marlins as Trevor Bauer went after Alex Bergman on Twitter. And we're going to talk about the latest on the Cavs coaching search as well.
Cleveland Browns.
Well, Jared, let's lead off with the good old Browns. You know, funny enough, if we were doing this podcast ending the past, I'd say 17 years, we'd be really dissecting the draft and coming into what we're going to be doing and what we're looking at. And this is the first year where it not only came and went, it went really to relatively smooth. No real surprises, no real jumping off the map points. The Browns have been getting kudos from a lot of people about who they drafted. Greedy Williams is predicting a Super Bowl, so that's exciting after being picked for only 1 or 2 days on the Browns.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And as soon as they grabbed him, I thought, oh my, if as soon as I saw this, Andy, because I didn't sit and watch the draft. I was at events, as you already know. I was in North Carolina for my wife's 15-year college graduation reunion, and it's an all-women's college, so, yep, I survived that. But, Andy, with the draft and with Greedy Williams, I thought, okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. Pairing him up with Denzel Ward, fingers crossed he's going to stay healthy. I thought that was a great start to the draft.
Great pick. I agree with everybody else. Greedy is a good player. I know they downgraded his tackling, but that's not unusual in cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns definitely need another cornerback. Again, to get him where they got him in the draft is a steal. And you could tell by the reaction of people, not just in Cleveland, but around the country and from analysts. That was a great pick. It made a lot of sense. It checks a lot of boxes. The Browns definitely need help more on the defensive side. They've added a lot of pieces on the offensive side. I know they added Olivier Vernon and they've added Williams, but they needed more players.
Yep.
And so Greedy Williams really checks a box there. It's a very, very defensive draft. I don't know much about Takaki. I don't know how to pronounce his name yet. Taki. I did not watch a lot of BYU games, and it was a shocker. So I can't say much about him. I did not watch a lot of the U last year. I remember Mac Williams pretty well. He is a good, solid player. Would not be surprised if that turns into more of a pick than what people think. I think he's a very smart player. He's known for his intelligence. It's just as athletic ability. If you want to break down 6 and 7, go right ahead. One's a tackle, one's a cornerback from Tulane. But then there's the interesting pick that Jared alluded to with the kicker. I think this was a smart pick. I think kicker now is going to be more valued in the drafts as we go along because of the kicking struggles we've seen, not just with the Browns, but around the league. I would not draft anybody above 4. 5, 6, and 7 to me is in play. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If they thought this was the best kicker, I know the Bucks drafted one earlier than the Browns, but this is a perfect spot for it. The Browns do need to put pressure on Greg Joseph, so I thought that made a lot of sense. Look, they did what I thought made a lot of. I wish they would have gone a tight end, Jared, but I'm not going to get overly frowny about that. People know my feelings about tight end on this team. I think it's okay to good, but I'm not. But again,
do they need a tight end at this point with their offensive weapons too? I mean, can you live
that's my
without
point. Again, that's my point. You
a
could
blocking tight end.
Right. You could throw in a couple other things on, do they draft a tackle higher? I don't think so. I'm okay with the 6th round pick. Remember, too, that they got players behind, even Greg, what's the offensive tackle's name we got from the Rams? Can't remember his name right now. Robinson, right?
Oh, yes.
Robinson. So, yeah. So, look, the Browns did the right thing by drafting on defense. I really thought that was a smart thing to do. It didn't make So I was surprised when people said wide receiver. No wide receiver needed on the Browns.
No. They did. I mean, there's at wide receiver. They've got a young man that I think they picked up in free agency following an undrafted free agency.
Sure. And that's typical.
Stuff like that. But no,
really
a wide receiver. Nah, I'm good.
I mean, remember Hollywood Higgins is your 4. Okay, so I mean,
right,
you're
exactly.
really deep on this team, and you're not going to be playing 4 wide.
Well, and on top of that, if Callaway takes a step forward this year, which everything points in the direction that he will, there's no need at wide receiver.
No.
Again,
and that's where it goes to tight end too. Do you really do tight end? Probably not, especially with Kareem Hunt coming out of the backfield, which we'll get to him in a second. I think the other big thing here is, Jared, that I liked is that this was the first draft, and I want to allude to it again, where the Browns had not. It felt good, as I did watch a lot of the draft. It felt good to be able to take in the draft instead of live through the draft. It was really nice watching the draft and watching picks come in and not living and dying by each pick.
No, I wasn't biting my nails and sitting there, thinking of what glaring hole we needed to get fixed, and then. So here's how it stood out to me, Andy. My short little breakdown of this is Greedy Williams, great lockdown corner. Let's get a lockdown. Let's get somebody who can steal the ball. Let's get another guy who can steal the ball. Perfect.
Yeah. By the way, does that? It was very good at intercepting the ball last year.
Exactly.
Very good player at that.
The other thing that stands out to me is we've got 2 linebackers picked up between Taki and Mac Wilson of Alabama. When I saw we picked up anybody on Alabama's defense is a value added player for the Browns, in my opinion, at this point. That defense, look, this is, and on top of that, what it actually brought to mind for a lot of folks is there's questions now at linebacker of, is Schobert going to be around for the start of this season in Cleveland, or is there going to be another trade before the start of the season? I don't know how that's going to work out.
The thing is, you trade Schobert, you're thinning out what you just built up.
I'm not. I agree. I think that we need that depth. I think it would be a bad move. I don't know exactly why we would look to get rid of Schobert right now, but those rumors are circling around to the point where even his wife made a comment on Twitter about they hope that they don't have to move because he just put up new shelves in one of their rooms, and they look really nice.
Well,
so, that sort of thing. I mean, the rumors are spinning.
Yeah. People got to remember, just because you draft a position doesn't mean you're getting rid of a position.
And it doesn't mean that those guys are going to work out either.
That's right. And again, we did the review of the Browns. Schobert did play pretty well the first half of the year. It was the second half after he got injured where he really struggled. His first 5-6 games, he really didn't play badly. He played pretty well.
And he's going to come in fresh this year. He's still young enough that he's going to be fine, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, Avery, Kirksey, Schobert, these 2 young kids, that, honestly, Jared, that's about average. You lose a Schobert, boy, you're thin again. So why not? I don't understand that. And then this goes to the bigger point about running back. I think the one thing the draft really proved, too, it's going to take a lot for Duke Johnson to get out of here. Now, Duke is doing his best right now to protest his way out. I still think, and I just am not getting any inclination, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Well, I
really don't.
Andy, I don't want to, if you don't mind, I want to also mention just, I strangely, as much as I didn't watch the draft as much, I was following along and doing a lot of my own scouting report stuff on some of these guys. Just for an update on this Oklahoma kicker, Austin Siebert, all-time leading scorer, right? He scored nearly 700 points for that team. People worry because he's only kicked that one 51-yard field goal as long, and that was. But you know what? It's a 51-yard field goal that he made. So there you go. And that was his junior season. And then the other thing that stands out to me, I know nothing about Donnie Lewis of Tulane, the corner that they grabbed in the 7th round, but in the 6th round pick. Did you know this, Andy, that Drew Forbes, that offense, that tackle, that from Southeast Missouri State. He was the featured guy in the Sports Illustrated special. They did a feature on him where they hid his identity and called him Player X, I believe. And the same thing with his significant other was the fiance or the girlfriend of Player X, and follow him around because he was struggling to get anyone to get eyes on him because, of course, Southeast Missouri State. And considering him to be the most underrated possible potential big-time pick, and sure enough, when Sports Illustrated revealed this the other day of who he is, John Dorsey's the guy who got him. So, I mean, little things to get excited about the value that John Dorsey seems to be able to find and add to this team. So, I mean, that's how I saw this draft. That's what I liked about it. I never got worked up about anything. I thought all we were doing, anything that we add right now is an improvement. And let's just look at it this way. If Sheldrick Redwine, it's a mouthful of a name, at safety, if he can play as good or slightly better than, now my brain stopped, then what's his face from the team up north that we sent the pack in to the Giants,
Peppers.
Then thank you. Then Jabril Peppers. I don't know what. See, he's gone. He doesn't wear orange and brown. He doesn't matter anymore. Like that's all you're looking for, right? Like we're not looking for a lot. I mean,
I think the safety. Miami really did get burned a lot by the passing game, so I don't know where to think about Redwine. I did watch Wilson a lot. Wilson's athletic ability was definitely hampered, but he could run around, so we'll see if that.
But that equates. He was expected to have a better season compared to his junior year. He dropped off his senior year, right? I mean, that's why he ended up dropping into that fourth round.
He really did. I mean, Taki's the one guy I didn't watch any BYU last year, so I can't say one thing about him. But I watched Greedy Williams. He's very good. That's a great pickup. And hey, look, everybody really applauded the Browns for the draft. Again, the only thing I'll mention I did agree with, I know Mel Kiper thought otherwise, but I agreed. I like Siebert. I think the kicker makes a lot of sense. Even if it doesn't work out, I'm fine with that pick. Going back to what I was alluding to with Duke Johnson, I just think now that the draft's over, that's the one big thing that comes forward. They are moving forward with Duke Johnson, and what I mean by that is if Duke Johnson's off this team, it's going to be off this team because a trade was made to replace or replenish something, because they're not going to just cut Duke Johnson. So Duke Johnson's going to be on this team moving forward, or the Browns are going to get something very heavy-handed in return. So, for people out there who are going, I think Duke Johnson's going to get traded, there's been I'm glad someone called it out. There's been a couple articles out there about the guy from the Bucks, McCoy, being traded for Duke Johnson. That doesn't make any sense. The Browns don't need an aging defensive lineman for Duke Johnson. That's not what the Browns are doing right now. They're going in the opposite direction. So I think Duke Johnson is going to stay. I don't agree with this Buccaneer thing. I think the Buccaneers are just trying to load things. And Jared, again, I think the Browns are going to need to be wowed to move Duke Johnson. And so the question now becomes, what will Duke Johnson do? And we'll find out as the weeks go on. I get the feeling this is going to drag. I don't think, if I had a prediction glass ball, I think you're talking July before this gets figured out, or if he's still holding out. But I think Duke now, unless something really drastically changes, Jared, I think Duke's going to be here at least through the early part of the summer.
Do you think he starts pulling antics, refusing to play, any of that?
I'll say this. He's been pretty hard line so far.
I haven't heard anything come out recently after his initial statement of saying that he was looking for a trade.
Yeah, but that's pretty hard lined. That's pretty hard line. I mean, you're basically saying I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that Freddie and John can do a little schmoozing in the background.
They're trying.
That's what I'm hoping.
I'll say this. They are trying. I do believe in Dorsey that they think they have a role on him for his team. And again, when they're saying that, that means you need to fill something or you need to fill that role. Like, you just can't just trade Duke Johnson for a fourth-round pick. No. Duke Johnson needs to be traded for something of value. Needs to bring something in, or you're going to trade for. Like, it's not just going to be a one-off. So I think that is the Duke Johnson scenario. And then the other story, which hasn't gotten much pickup, which I alluded to with you before we went on, is the Kareem Hunt article that came out on Pro Football Talk. So credit to them. They actually got to Freddie Kitchens and we got an update on Hunt. So people who did not see it, you should check it out. But I'll read a quick quote. He's doing great, Freddie says. He's doing everything we're asking him to do. And I think the bigger thing that he mentioned in the middle of this quote is he's doing things in the community. He's continuing to work on an everyday basis, and he's not taking days off. Mm-hmm. He seems to be getting a better player, a better person. I think everybody's going to see the benefits of that. That's a pretty strong statement from Freddie, and I'm not paraphrasing. That came right out of his mouth. So, again, I've already alluded to, I would not have made the Kareem Hunt deal, I still wouldn't.
Right.
I will never change that. But now that he's here, I move forward, and I'm glad to hear these things are happening. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on with Tyreek Hill, which we'll probably get to in a little bit. But focusing just on Kareem, I found that interesting that he made an update on him. Because we have not heard anything from Kareem. And it sounds like he's not just in the building, Jared. It sounds like he's making an impact on these coaches, and especially Freddie.
Look, Andy, this is best case scenario, right?
Yes,
This is best case scenario. This is what we were hoping would happen. And this goes back to what I talked to you about offline when we're talking about the stuff that pops up about Tyreek Hill and John Dorsey. Look, this had better, for John Dorsey's sake, work out. And I mean that in the PR sense, because
Right. There's
because,
the business sense and PR sense.
Damn
right. Yeah.
well that if this falls flat, that if their mistakes are made, if Kareem Hunt finds himself at a nightclub and on some elevated floor in the 9 getting into it with anybody, that all eyes are going to go right back to John Dorsey, especially because even right now there's a lot of folks that have talked poorly in regard to John Dorsey about this pick and about Tyreek Hill and about his track record for grabbing guys like this. Now I'm going to sit here and I'm going to defend him, because I'm going to say this. I believe, knowing from how I can see John Dorsey at the podium, how he talks about these young players, he genuinely, truly will take a risk on a player like this, knowing that the benefits, he'll reap that reward. But I think that he really does care about helping give these kids a chance to fix their reputation, to give them an opportunity, and recognizes that people make mistakes. Now, Tyreek Hill, that's a difficult situation. That's a difficult
really
situation to be able to think that you hope that he's going to be a better person. This is some ingrained upbringing, piss poor treatment of people that you should be loving and taking care of, right?
Well, it's awful. The whole thing's awful, and honestly, I'm going to be very hard. Hill should never play NFL and football again.
I don't think I can argue that. I don't.
What he is doing to that little boy and what he's doing to that mother. Time for Tyreek Hill to get some real therapy, probably do some jail time, and really figure some things out.
I definitely think that the consequences need to be had, and I genuinely hope that he can understand what he's doing is wrong. Andy, there's people, I think, that come from backgrounds that you and I couldn't imagine. Yep. And believe that they're doing the right thing, possibly believe that they're, in a sense, when they're being tough on others that they love, in that way that they believe that they are protecting them from possible things that happen outside of the home. That's a whole other story. That's a cultural issue in regard to again, experiences that you and I don't necessarily go through. But I am not excusing any of this whatsoever, and I truly hope that Tyreek Hill gets the help that he needs.
Again, get some real therapy. Needs to really do a lot of needs to really spend a lot of time on himself and what is happening, and needs to put a lot of more importantly, needs to put a lot of focus and love back in that little boy.
Yeah, more importantly, that's who I want. They need healing.
They really do.
First and foremost.
Yeah, they really do. I think I actually think Hill's at a point in his life where his life is out of control.
Yeah.
He needs to really
can't look at it any other way.
No. Going back to Hunt, I found that statement to be interesting. So it sounds like Hunt is making a good impression so far. I was glad to get that update. We have not heard anything about this since the signing. So. Yep. Kudos to Pro Football Talk. That was a good quote to get from Freddie. Before the draft, it was the Odell Beckham week.
Now I'm pissed off because I know what we're getting into right now, and it should have never gotten to that point.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, I'm going to give you the latest reaction, and then we'll get into the week that led up. The latest reaction from either a day or two ago was from the New York Post. Kitchens quoted saying, "Of course, I'd rather him be here than not here, but I understand why. I talk to Odell every day. He knows what we're doing offensively every day. He'll be ready to play. Don't worry about it." going up to that week, there was a couple articles, one by Grossi, by other. I think actually just by Grossi. There might have been another article out there asking where Odell Beckham is. Here's my big thing on this. I don't think any of this is a big deal. I love Grossi and I love his articles. This is one of the few times I'm on the complete opposite plank. I just don't think this is a big deal. I think this is where football becomes way too much conversational because it's all voluntary. I don't ever remember talking about this in the 80s and 90s. I don't ever remember focusing on these things in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't a thing like it was today. The other thing, too, we have seen so many bad, crappy teams, and all these guys are showing up to voluntary camp and hasn't proven one goddamn thing. So in the meantime, too, I've seen these practices, and we've seen the Cody Kesslers and the Greg Littles and everyone show up and catch the ball and throw the ball around. And what's it done, Jared? Absolutely nothing. So I don't think these practices are a big deal. Now, mandatory stuff's mandatory, but for voluntary stuff, I don't think it's a big deal.
Two things. One, I read the Grossi article as well. I kind of was shaking my head throughout it. I feel like I'm not a big fan of. I felt like it was creating a problem where a problem doesn't exist. It's scratching an itch until it bleeds, and then you've got a problem. Like, I don't know, just why is this the conversation? We're talking about, right? We're talking about practice, voluntary practice. You don't have to be there. We're talking about and on top of that, caveat part number 2 here. Joe Thomas said it best. He was on one of the local stations in Cleveland, and he said, nothing goes on there. He's not missing anything. It's not a big deal.
Again,
and if
Jared,
Joe Thomas doesn't care about it, guess what? None of y'all should care about it.
Again,
period.
Growing up in the 90s and 80s, I don't remember any of this. I'm not exaggerating. I don't ever remember talking about this. No. So I just think this gets where the NFL gets over-observed. And again, I love Grossi, and most times I find him to be, I'm generally on his side and more on his side. I really champion. This is one of the rare times I was on the opposite.
Sounds a little get off my lawn in this one. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. And other people felt the same way.
Don't block me on Twitter for that.
No, we all love Grossi. We love Grossi. And by the way, you're allowed to disagree from time to time.
Absolutely.
The other thing, too, going back to Odell, was the whole Gettleman article on NewJersey.com coming out saying the locker room's been better since he's left.
I just laugh at that guy.
Yeah. Well,
all you had to do was watch his draft, the first pick, and you don't have to. I'm sorry, not to hate on the kid from Duke, but
good luck.
I think Dwayne Haskins dodged a bullet. I really do. I
wish the Giants good luck. I think Jared said it best. I really wish
he's Ray Farmering that draft.
I will. Okay, let's go down that road. The Giants living up here. Francesa said it, and I felt it. And Jared and I talked about it briefly on texting. I was going to say the same thing to you. This is the Browns fill in the year 2009, 2012 draft.
Yeah.
All these drafts have gone failures. Yeah. This felt like that draft.
He thinks he knows better. He thinks he's got a beat on something that no one else does. He thinks he's the sly guy.
And by the way, you are going to be proven. You're going to get a chance to prove if you're right or wrong. Good news. And Gettleman, I will tell you that. You will be proven, but I'll tell you, it is so razor thin right now over there. And on top of it, your quarterback is not just a quarterback. He's won 2 Super Bowls for you. People can get over what he's done. The guy's won 2 Super Bowls for the Giants. Legendary Super Bowls. And now you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback after you just got rid and you just took care of some other things, and now you're bringing back the same back problem, and then you're drafting guys that really don't fill as many needs as other things that they thought on the team were needed. The Giants just so remind me of the old Browns. Jared, they had 3 draft picks in the first round, and none of them came off as like, ooh, eye-catching. I agree with Francesa. It reminds me of the same stuff. You can pick the era. No plan. Random darts throwing in the air. Wouldn't you love Brown after one practice at the Senior Bowl? Oh, crap. I mean, we've heard statements like that before. And it's like, oh,
I saw 3 series.
Boy. Oh, good. Perfect. Can't wait.
I mean, cringe for other teams when I start to hear it. Andy, we have so much. We have a breadth of experience in shitty football management like no other team in the league that we can see it, sniff it, smell it, find it from miles away before it's coming.
There are two teams. The Giants are fucked. The other team,
absolutely,
they're fucked. I'm telling you, if you just squeeze out a few losses early, and then the other one, and I don't dislike the kid. I like Kyler Murray, but I think the risk and reward in Arizona is so high on both ends. If that does not work out for a coach who got fired previously at Texas Tech with another new quarterback in there, oh, Jared, wow. I don't think that story is. I think the Giants and other things have overshadowed that. But man, the Cardinals, that's such a huge risk. I hope it works. I like Kyler Murray.
Hey, and I got to say, too, good on Rosen for leaving there the way he did. He really left. He finished. He did a charity event after the trade was made, after the draft with oh my God, my brain. What is with it tonight, man? This is
he did a thing with the Cardinals, and he did a lot of things.
He did that, and then he made a statement, put out a really nice statement in regard to all of that. And I thought, and wished Kyler Murray luck, and offered him a good rental on his place that he's leaving. I think Rosen, and this is coming from a guy who has been called a potential bad apple in regard to his leadership and whether people want to play for him, and I haven't seen any of that.
No, I think Rosen obviously came off really well, and good for him because he needed it. I will be fair. I think Rosen's going into a terrible situation in Miami.
Well,
I hope it works out. I think when you have the Pats, which is a big domino, and honestly, I think the Jets are rising. I do. I think the Jets will be better. I think you're in a tough division. I think it's a really uphill climb. But I'm happy for Josh. And look, sitting behind Fitzpatrick, you're obviously gonna have a chance to play.
Right.
That you're in prime position to start a lot of games. Back to Beckham and the Browns. I thought Beckham did. Twitter and the social media platforms are what gives players like Odell a chance to respond to an article like that. I know people are on both sides of the fence. I don't blame Odell for everything he did, because I think Gettleman was controlling the platform. I think Odell was controlling the floor, and I think he needed an opportunity to respond, especially when you make statements of like the locker room got better. What is Odell supposed to do? Sit on his hands and wait?
Yeah, how ignorant was that?
So I think
really was ignorant. It's like what people like to do to Cleveland in general. It's an unsolicited kick in the nuts that nobody asked for, and nobody did. Like it's not deserved. I don't think at that point it's unwarranted.
I thought Odell did the right thing. The one thing I would say too that I think it's going to be interesting to see next year. And I don't remember the Browns having this. There are a lot of LSU Tigers on this team, and prominent LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
Landry,
so
Beckham.
Many that Freddie was asked about it, and he said if they played better in high school, maybe they'd have played for Alabama.
Well, truthfully,
that was good.
Truthfully, I'll just say it's going to be fun to see, because I get the feeling, and Odell's reaction of Greedy getting drafted, I think there's going to be a lot of LSU spirit on the sidelines. I think that's going to be a small theme throughout the year. I would not be surprised if you saw Go GEAUX Browns, those kinds of t-shirts being made, because
I've already got one. My Odell shirt.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a Cajun flair to this team. I think that's why this Odell thing is in good shape. I like the positivity behind it.
Yeah.
I don't think this camp stuff's a big deal. I really do think, in my last comment about all this, I think the Browns really need to run and hide until July. And what I mean by that is there's really not a lot more to break down. We kind of know everything that's going on. You can debate the Duke Johnson thing, but truthfully, in the history of NFL, this is not the time you make trades or you start swapping free agents stuff. So this is the kind of, you start getting ready for the training camp. Now, in training camp, it can all change. But right now, Jared, I think the Browns really do need to exit stage left. Let them process, let them start getting ready for whether it's training with and without the team, strategizing, because really there's not a whole lot more to break down unless there's bad things, injuries, suspensions.
You say that, but damn well, damn well This has been a 24-hour news cycle like no other with this Cleveland Browns team.
I'll say this though. They checked box the draft. I was surprised. Yes. They really did. I thought the draft was quiet. Now, before the draft, I thought it was pretty loud with Odell Beckham. But during the draft, and not Odell Beckham himself, but the Odell Beckham news cycles. But outside that, Jared, it's been pretty quiet.
You're
in the
right.
Draft.
Yes, it has been.
So I think it is time to settle down, time to taper down, and start to get do your things, focus on the tribe, get ready for those kind of things, and let the Browns do their thing until July.
Give me a little calm before a storm.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I don't think if we're reading too many more stories, it's going to be positive at times. Because it really should just be basic nuts and bolts, how everybody's doing. And this should be the wrap. I mean, there's going to be some camps. There'll be some mandatory things coming up right around Memorial Day. Truthfully, Jared, even that kind of stuff. Are we going to be counting completions this year? No. Are we going to be seeing how many times like Odell Beckham makes a catch? No. None of that stuff matters. Why? Because the expectations have been raised to, we're just hoping to see positive things, to we are expecting wins throughout next year. So there really should not be any expectations about how these practices go or whatever else. In past years, there has been. I don't feel it this year. I don't care what happens in practice. Don't care. Not into it.
I think that, and I think that we should be prepared for national hate to pop up continuously as time goes on. And by the way, that's something we need to be ready for.
Well,
whether they're playing well or not.
I'll spin it like this, Jared. Target on your back is there.
Absolutely, 100%.
Then there's no question about that.
And no matter how much talent you have, winning a football game in the NFL, in the National Football League, is not an easy thing week in and week out. It's not. Mike Tirico said it really well when he was talking about the Browns in relation to how many wins, and he thinks a 9 or 10 win season is a success for this team. And he's not saying that because he doubts that they can win any more than that. He's saying it strictly based on the fact that it is not easy to win football games in the NFL. Now, me personally, I'm just looking at the way that the NFL is kind of evolving, and I look at this high-powered offense, and I think to myself, I see 12 wins. That's just me. But
there are some questionable things in the AFC that you can point to. What's going on with the Chiefs is they're going through some processing things right now. They've already lost Hunt. And Tyreek Hill is really on. I mean, that's in limbo at best.
Yeah, the AFC North itself is in limbo because you really don't know what you've got with the Ravens. They look like they've made a few improvements. Is Devin Bush really going to be the guy that improves everything
by the way,
that the Steelers
know.
have lost over time?
Well, you never know. I'll just say this: I'm actually prepared to say I think the Steelers this year are going to be a tough opponent. Doesn't mean that they can't beat them or beat them twice. I think the Steelers are going to – I think this is it. I think you're going to see a very, very hard push from the Steelers this year. I think the Steelers are going to be a tough out. I think this is a good last charge from Ben. I think they have a lot. I will say this. I don't want to hear any more from Antonio Holmes about the Steelers. Time to leave them alone. They've been amped up enough. The Steelers don't need any more motivation, Jared. It's time to go play these games, time to kick the football. I just think the Steelers are going to be motivated in the next year. I would be surprised if they weren't. And as for the Bengals, look, I don't know what the Bengals are. I know some people like their draft. Some people they're clearly sticking with Andy Dalton through the next 2 years to see what they've got.
Boy. That's what it is. That he's got 2 years left on that contract, and and Haskins was there. During their first pick, I'm almost positive Haskins was on the board still.
He was, because they picked 11. I'll tell you, I think the Bengals, I'm a Browns fan, so what do I care? I think the Bengals made picks that solidify a 6-10, 5-11 kind of trend for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
High draft picks, offensive linemen are great, and I love Joe Thomas. But as I've learned, and we've all learned, that doesn't mean it's going to equate to big wins.
Right. I think that they're at least trying to. I think that a big part of this is they're trying to change that culture and what they're known for. I mean, this was a team that the Vontaze Burficts of the world. So
yeah, they have a lot to change over there. I mean, I'll go quickly through it before we get to the tribe. There's nothing really else that really stood out to me other than Haskins going to the Redskins, which was interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about the Giants. A lot of people got on the Raiders for their draft picks. I actually liked the Raiders draft as it went along. their first overall pick was a little strange. The Farrell kid out of Clemson, that was a little bit of a reach. Bosa, okay, my one other comment I got that's very random, but I do believe this. If Jimmy G is healthy and he plays like he did 2 years ago, I think the Niners are going to be. It wouldn't surprise me if the Niners go from worst to first. I think they're in play for that award this year. I think that's a team. There's always one team every year that does that in the NFL. I would elect the Niners. If Bosa's healthy, he's a big help. They've already added some pieces. Jimmy G, if he's healthy, I think they could.
Did I see some?
Big.
Well, I think that Bosa's going to have his own issues. I think again, PR wise, with some of his tweet issues and all that stuff. Young kid, look, I know, I get it.
Yeah, he's look. I think Bosa's got a lot to overcome too to prove the Niners.
This is a kid who didn't play all year too.
That's my point. I mean, and I've been hearing little things that he still nicked, and it's like, wow, really? He hasn't played in a long time. So time will tell, but if he's healthy, and again, I liked what the Niners did, but Jimmy G has to be healthy.
Well, I've also seen rumors of issues between the GM and their head coach right now too. I mean, there's the Niners. I think are still. I don't know. I think there's things up in the air, obviously, but the potential is there. You're right. The potential is there for them to go from worst to first.
Yeah,
it is there. I don't know. There's some uncertainty still there, obviously.
Oh no, of course. All right, now let's talk about the Minnesota. Let's go to our tribe.
Cleveland Indians.
3-3 last week. They played Miami. They played Houston. They split everything. Split the 2 games in Miami. Split the 4 in Houston. I felt like
shouldn't have split that series.
Yeah, the Marlins series was whatever. They did not play well on Tuesday. They played much better on Wednesday. Should have won 3 out of 4. I won't say 4, but they should have won 3 out of 4 in Houston. They just did not have the bats again. I mean, it's the same old song and dance for this team. The big other story that came out, this is Trevor Bauer. He went after Bregman after Bregman and him are clearly not friends and not happy. Even SI wrote an article, they kind of like this in baseball. I kind of agree, kind of add some spice to the game. Bauer, for people who haven't seen it, he went after him pretty hard using the famous song that became famous after Twix commercials and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and saying like, you know, did I control Bregman? Oh yeah, and like with the
Bregman
shaking,
bobblehead, yeah, it
shaking up and down.
I laughed a little, but yeah. Yeah, I mean,
all right, Jared. Let me ask you your true feelings. Do we want more of this or less from Trevor Bowers? I think more is coming.
I would probably be. I'm trying to warm up to it in regard to Trevor Bauer because there's a part of me that thinks that he really is trying as a person to be a little lighter in regard to his joking on social media. That dig, he knew damn well what he was doing. And it was funny, but he also followed it up with with making fun of himself and showing a home run getting rocked off of him in a follow up tweet. So
no doubt,
Trevor's he's evolving slowly in regard to his use of social media. I'm okay with it, but I don't know. Is it really that funny? I mean, it was kind of funny, but it's just so funny the reactions that people have. You know, oh my God, best follow on Twitter. Like, it's
how about
it's all
this?
right. Like, you don't. I mean,
here's what I thought. Trevor, the video was short and sweet.
Right.
Bregman's reaction was pretty priceless.
That was hilarious.
Bregman was not happy,
not amused, not happy, and for that reason, it was great.
Happy.
Asked, are you guys buddies? There's been rumors you're friends. No, we're not friends.
No. Let me make that clear. No, we're not friends. So Bauer did pitch well.
I love that.
I did too. I think it's kind of fun. Baseball is a fuddy-duddy sport at times, and I love baseball, but baseball could use some more of that. The other thing that really came out last week to me was a huge positive was Brad Hand. 3 saves in 3 days. I thought that was great. Brad Hand is... Cody Allen was very good for the Indians. Brad Hand's actually been better, and that's saying a lot. I've been just blown away. I know he had one bad game in KC, but outside that, Jared, he's just been a train. He is a very good reliever. I think he's on his way to making an all-star appearance at this point. Brad Hand is worth his weight in gold right now to the Indians because he locks down the 9th. Whitgren, Boilermaker, does a good job in the 8th. He's got some things to learn, but he's doing
the Indians are at 500 or below.
Oh,
possibly.
Yes,
without Brad Hand right now.
Yeah, and I want to be. I actually want to give props to one guy I never do, but Simber's been better. I got to admit, and gosh, I think he's the nicest guy. Dan Otero actually has been pitching better. I just want to give my tip of the cap to Dan.
I started noticing that I think last week too, and I was waiting to see. I was waiting to see if it would hold on, and
no. He look in key situations before that he stunk. Okay,
yeah.
But he was put into one or two keep-his spots last week. I noticed, and he did great. So yes, tip of the cap to Dan Otero. He definitely had a good week. There's one guy in the bullpen before we get to the batters that I'm keeping my eye on. It's Neil Ramirez. I have seen a slow decline early this year. I don't see improvement. I think Neil Ramirez is going to be put on the spotlight here soon. If this doesn't improve, I've been surprised. They brought him out in Houston, and he just did not look well. Tyler Olson's been okay at best, and I haven't seen Ollie Perez in a while. So I think those are guys that have been really hidden. But again, when you have Whitgren, Simber, Otero, and Otero pitching well, hey, to be fair, you don't need those guys. But really the bigger story has been the bats. And I will lead off with what became more of a trumpeted discussion I noticed in the Houston series compared to the series before the Braves is Jose Ramirez. Now, Jose tonight against Miami did get a hit again, but he is still batting below 200. But what I found, Jared, interesting is during that telecast of the Astros was how much of a storyline has become to the national Alex Rodriguez's of the world and Mendoza's and that crew at ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, because they really talked about it quite a bit. So Ramirez's struggles have now gone beyond local. I think they're becoming more of a national drumbeat, and that is not good for Jose. He has got to start hitting the ball.
I told you, I think a lot of this is mental with him, and you can tell just by his lack of enthusiasm via Twitter and social media like he's had in past years.
Great point by you.
He fell off back then, and it hasn't come back. You don't see him, joking around. It's just not. It's not the same. And this is I almost think that if he could somehow start. Not that fake it till you make it is the right way to do things, but you have to think positively. You have to genuinely believe in yourself in a positive manner to start to have some of that spiral up and maybe translate into that bat. I know that sounds silly, but I'm telling you right now, the mental aspect of stepping into the batter's box and realizing that if you're ruminating on the fact that you're hitting below 200, that you're not where you want to be, that this isn't, that you have to start hitting the ball, that it is becoming a national thing. If you're ruminating all this and you're thinking about all this on a regular basis, you're going to keep hitting like shit, Jose. That's just the fact. It's just a fact. This will not change until you change your perspective on your situation and start thinking a little bit more positively about where you're at and how to get out of it.
And everybody's rooting for him.
Yes.
I think sometimes there's a pylon. This is the opposite. Everybody wants Jose to do well because we love his story.
His story is amazing.
Amazing. He's a great American story from a guy coming over from the DR to really make it. And by the way, I was wrong tonight. He got a walk. He didn't get a hit. So he's still batting 183. To Jared's point, and I'll illuminate it with this, if it wasn't for Carlos Santana playing so well, this would be even a bigger story.
Yeah.
Santana is saving Ramirez right now. And Santana again tonight, 3 hits, another home run for Santana. He is batting above 300, really playing well, Jared. He is really taking a lot more pressure off Jose. I just hope Jose gets to a point. I know there's a lot of rumors, and I think it's because of arbitration. I think you're going to see Oscar Machado come up here sooner rather than later. He's really hitting the ball well out of AAA. The Indians need to put guys in like that in. I think it would be good for Jose to go down in the lineup. I am ready to say that. I think he needs a break. I think a 7th, 8th, or 9th slot for him would do him really well.
It would do our lineup really well. I'd rather see him back there than deal with the 3 we've got right now.
Yeah, I think Cargo can bat 3rd right now. I think you can go easily Lindor, Martin, Cargo, Santana. I think you could easily go that way. The other 2 guys I do want to pick up on the positive. Bowers had a better week last week. He's got another hit tonight. And Perez has got another hit. Perez is over 200 right now. So those two guys, it's not big breakouts, but they're playing better, which is good. I thought that was I think it's a good little signs. But going off of Ramirez and back to the team, they are last in hitting and they are last in slugging. And when you watch the Indians, it shows. There were and why I thought the Indians should have taken more games out of Houston. Saturday and Sunday, there were multiple opportunities to get hit in big spots of traffic on base. And the Indians not just whiffed, they struck out and left very quietly.
There's nothing more painful than watching 6, 7, 8 great innings out of your starter and just atrocious offense.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Even if you're getting hits, only putting 1 run on the board. And Andy, we talk about holding on, 1 run, 2 run with the starting pitching staff and with the way they close things out. Yeah, you're going to win a majority of those games, but you don't have room to not win them all if you're not hitting. Like you're putting way too much pressure on yourself as a team, as a pitching staff. Like this isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable. And we're already seeing that, Andy. I know it's only April. I know we're right at the end of April and we're way ahead of where we wanted to be. But the signs of the breakdowns are there that this is not sustainable and that this offense really needs to start picking things up, because you're talking about a Twins squad right now that's got a 2.5 game lead on this Indians team. And I know it's early, but you do not want that to slowly grow by the time the All-Star breaks there, that you've got too big of a hole to dig yourself out of, and you don't have an offense to hack to get you out of it.
To Jared's point, I wouldn't want to get it above 7. I really wouldn't.
No, yeah. Yeah. 7's.
I'm not worried about the Twins. I am not on that camp. I'm not worried
come
about
back
the
to
Twins.
earth. I mean,
well, look, they played the Orioles 6 times, so gobble up those wins any day of the week. The other thing too about
I know, but we had better damn well sweep the Orioles ourselves.
Well, I'll tell you the series. Two things. If you want to circle where one, again, we just mentioned Houston. Carrasco's a good example too. Carrasco pitched his ass off, and it was such a razor thin 1-0 lead that it ballooned like that. And then the next thing you knew, the Astros were up 4-1 and the game was over. The other series that really will bother me is the Kansas City series. If you go into Kansas City and seeing how bad they're playing right now, and you get swept like that, Jared, those are 3 bad losses. Now they picked them back up by winning 3 straight in Seattle. By the way, Seattle's coming back to Cleveland, and so the Chi Sox. You got to keep gobbling up those wins, especially with the Chi Sox. You've got to gobble up those wins.
Yeah.
And Miami too. Miami's not good either. So you got to get these wins. Got to get them count. I mean, if you're playing teams like the Astros on the road, and you're playing which by the way they did well against Seattle, you got to gobble up these opportunities. It's still too early for me to start worrying about the Twins. I know what you're saying, but I'm not worried about so much about that. The only thing I do agree with what you're alluding to. This is not a team I think can come back 7+ down. I just don't see that in this team.
No. Where are they going to get those wins?
I know. I agree with you.
Some nights your offense has to win it for you, and we're just not seeing a lot of that.
No, I think to Jared's point, if you get down 5 or 6 games, boy, you're almost there to the point where I think even in May, that's a little nerve-wracking. But they're not there yet, so that's good. Yeah, like I said, the Indians are up right now, the Marlins. Hopefully that continues. The other things that I've been noticing is Kluber's been pitching a little bit better. He got a win in Houston, wasn't great. Bauer pitched great. Bieber, I think, is going through his sophomore things. He got roughed in Houston, but everybody gets roughed up in Houston. And I thought Carlos Carrasco, it's just a shame what happened. He pitched so well before that inning, and then the wheels came off pretty quick. That stinks. That stinks about this team right now. And again, if you want some big positives, Carlos Santana, Brad Henn, Nick Whitgren, good players. Oscar Mercado's coming. I think that's good. And it's good to have
Any word
Lindor.
on Bradley Zimmer?
I heard
Anyone?
I'll say this. I've been hearing more and more chirping about, and now I forgot his name. The guy's always, Salazar. I've been hearing more and more chirping about Salazar.
Strange.
You wonder how much of an impact he will have, because we haven't heard anything about Salazar for really the last 2 years. And there's been more and more chirping about his return. I've heard it on the radio telecast. I've seen it in articles. You can tell Salazar is attempting to make some sort of comeback here in the summer.
Okay.
I'm really interested to see what he does.
Well, and
by the way,
I'm hoping Clevenger's back sooner rather than later as well.
Oh, but we should talk about that. That's a good way in on the Tribe. Big positive. It does sound like he's closer.
Yep.
And by the way,
and he's antsy too. I mean, he wants to come back.
He is. By the way, I just want to allude to something. Is we've been down this trade. God, is Jeffrey Rodriguez going to be good? Whew.
Really?
He can pitch. Jeffrey's good.
Yeah.
I like him. I like him a lot. I miss the Yan Gomes bat, but boy, Jeffrey Rodriguez can pitch.
Well,
he's good.
But again, this speaks to the problem. We've got plenty of good pitching, Andy.
I know. I'm just trying to illuminate the positives. I do like Jeffrey Rodriguez. Like the Indians, I can say this confidently. Best starting five, I think, is the Indians. I don't think it's even close with the 6 with Rodriguez. It's not even close. The Indian starting pitching is that strong.
Yeah.
Because the Clevenger bump has not been felt. Rodriguez has done a good job. It's been mentioned, it'll be interesting, Jared, will Rodriguez come out of the bullpen at some point? It'll be interesting. He was a reliever last year.
Yeah, I mean, man, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine at one point, with all those parts we talked about, how Simber, especially Whitgren in hand, a Salazar who might be somewhat back, and then a Rodriguez coming out? Holy cow.
Andy,
and Rodriguez brings you length.
Do we lose one or two of these guys at the midway point trying to grab a bat or two? Likely a bat?
I'll tell you what. Okay, so Jared makes a great point. If you're... I don't want to trade him. Jeffrey Rodriguez,
I know,
though.
right?
Jeffrey
That's
Rodriguez.
my thing. Like, who are you trading then? Is Kluber the guy who's gone?
Boy, I cannot believe I'm saying this. I think I would really think about it.
Oh, my God.
And I was not saying that a few months ago. From what I've seen early from Jeffrey Rodriguez...
think it can't be Trevor Bauer, right? He's got too much of a clan going on in that. I don't think it could be Trevor Bauer.
People can't see me. That's a big hit. I think Clevenger, Bieber, Carrasco, Bauer are untradeable.
I never would have thought that that's where we would be right now.
Kluber?
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
I'll say this, though.
And we're only a month into the season.
I'll say this, though. Kluber is starting to figure it out. His fastball's not as hot, his velocity's a little down. And by the way, that's not abnormal in pitchers like this at this age.
Right.
CC went through it. Clemens went through it. Other pitchers have gone through it. David Cohn went through it. Pitchers have to make adjustments when they get older.
Yep.
I'm interested to see once Kluber makes adjustments how he's going to do. And by the way, that could be dangerously good too.
Yeah.
But the Indians,
it could be like a whole new pitcher. He's got the IQ for it.
Again, you're starting to see little drips and drabs where he's doing better. You really are. This week, the Indians, again, in Miami tonight, they're up 7-4 now. Hopefully they pull off the victory. They have one more tomorrow. They have a weird 5-game week. They have a break again on Thursday, travel home, play the Mariners. The Mariners are then done for the year. So
yeah, hopefully you're watching tonight. Considering 7 runs, you might not see that many runs over the next 10 days.
I will say, in fairness to the Tribe, we forget, they scored 7 against the Braves in a loss, and they scored 6 a few more times. So the batting is... What is just alarming to me is, and they alluded to it on the radio cast tonight, telecast, the hitting is, it's just eye-soaringly tough at times. It's really, really...
It's been situational hitting that's been good for the
situational,
Indians.
But I haven't said this about the Indians in a long time. 4-1 in Houston, forgetting who's coming up for the Astros of the bullpen, game's over. Game's over.
You're not. Yeah, and again, this isn't a team that can climb out of holes.
Yeah, they are really that team. You don't hear about that a lot in baseball, but the Indians kind of fit that profile.
Yep.
And that's not good. That is not good. So as the season goes on, I think Jared makes it. See if it evolves, but I think trading is going to be interesting.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
All right, real quick to the Cavs. Not a lot to discuss unless you're really interested in hearing about the latest Bickerstaff, interview or Alex Jensen, hello.
Andy, I heard something. There was some good talk about this a couple weeks ago in regard to the way that NBA coaches are hired. And there was a long time ago where head coaches were it, right? They didn't have these big staffs of assistants. So you would get a lot more of these big name college coaches that would slide up into the NBA, and it would make more of a splash, right? But because the NBA has evolved into the point where you've got guys that are already in the system coaching for these NBA teams as assistants, that's where you're not getting these big splashes, because you're just sliding some of these assistants who already have NBA experience, know the game, know the players, into these head coaching roles. That's just...
Here's the one thing I heard today, and this is from Wendy, and he couldn't report the name, but the Cavs are trying to go after one big name coach, and it sounds like it's in the college basketball area, and not Izzo.
Really?
So we'll leave the intrigueness to there.
Bad Mata. It's making a comeback.
Matt Painter.
Can't help but make this joke every time.
I'll tell you the one guy who would be an interesting hire. It would bring a lot of buzz. Would be Beard out of Texas Tech.
Okay.
And I could see him going. I could see him going. That's just pure speculation. Who the hell knows? But that's the one guy that came to mind.
That's all we've got at this point, anyways.
I mean, look, throwing darts at a wall. Here's the one thing. Okay, I got two things on the Cavs. One is what everybody's saying, which we all agree. Don't make any moves, and they aren't going to make any moves until after the season, until after the lottery's been drawn.
Yep.
Because if they get Zion, everything changes big time. So you got to wait to see where you draft in the lottery. That's number one. Number two, the Cavs have gone back to where you don't want to go, where you're kind of in that hole of like, oh, there's the Cavs. Okay, read my little box score headlines, and I'm done for the week.
Yeah.
And the Cavs have really fallen. And the reason why I bring that up, the NBA is the one sport that kind of is 8th, 9th month sport where there's a lot of stuff going on. It'll be interesting to see how much buzz goes on for Summer League. But the Cavs aren't careful because of the Browns' positioning. And the Indians will at least be in some sort of pennant chase. The Cavs are in that weird spot again, Jerry, where they could be easily forgotten if they're not careful.
Well, I think that just and the track that the NBA is on as a whole, whether it just be the Western Conference or whether it be the Warriors in general, that's already a battle that any team in the East is fighting for relevancy in regard to this upcoming season. Andy, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait for the lottery. That's really all I care about. I'll start making some evaluations around then. It absolutely is impossible to make any evaluations, even if they hired a coach right now. I couldn't make any judgment on that. I don't even know that you make a coaching hire prior to the lottery.
Well, no, and we just said that you can't do it. And I'll tell you the other thing too. If they don't get number one pick,
I thought you were talking about players.
No, it's all good, brother. It's all good. It's been that kind of week. It's all good, brother.
Oh, you ain't kidding. We are.
If you want to hit me on DM, I could tell you a book. But the one thing I think what's important for the Cavs, they don't get number one pick, but they get number two. I think Morant will bring a lot of buzz, so I think that's fine. 3, 4, I don't know if there's a possibility for them to fit in the 5 slot. I think that's where the buzz really dies down. So I think the Cavs really in the top 2, I think you're in good shape for buzz and carrying over of emotion. I think past that, you're not Morant, you're not Zion. I don't think there's much buzz, if I'm being honest.
No.
I really don't. So that's kind of where the Cavs are. You've heard nothing. I've seen Kevin Love post a lot of pictures from around the world. Sounds like he's traveling, which, by the way, good for him.
Yeah.
The one side note before I get to the NBA playoffs with Rockets or Warriors, I think that's the first series I'm very into. Not happy that game's on 10:30 nights. I will not be watching. I just can't stay up late tonight. But the other thing that's been interesting is the whole LeBron thing. He's been tweeting a lot. I guess Nike made a whole bunch of playoff shoes for him to wear. And because he's not playing, he's been tweeting about other players in the league wearing the playoff shoes and tweeting about it. Jared's been an odd time for LeBron. It's a really, really odd time for him.
Is this like he's trying? Is he trying to figure out like who he is at this point in his career and his life?
I think he's having a hard time with this, and it's coming off nicely for him. He's doing a nice job handling it. I think underneath it's coming off weird. He talked about going on TNT at one point, tweeting about guys wearing shoes that he was supposed to wear during the playoffs. Jared's not easy. Not an easy spot for him. And by the way, the Los Angeles Lakers, who I would think would have some buzz, the Knicks have quite a bit more buzz right now going the offseason than the Lakers do. And that is not good. That is not good. By the way, Ty Lue not hired yet as coach. I'd be interested to see if that happens too. Jared, I think this is an interesting moment, and I think LeBron would agree in his career right now. It's interesting. It's fascinating to watch.
Well, I think that even having seasons like he had last year and where he's at in his career, I mean, I know that he went out west to try to work more on his Hollywood ambitions,
his businesses,
his business, exactly, all together, right? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't hate on him for that, but I don't know that it might. It doesn't that kill the buzz? Doesn't having terrible seasons in LA hurt the buzz for Space Jam 2? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have been better off just staying where you were? I know I hate doing it, but I gotta say it. Sometimes we overthink things and think that we have to be in certain places to make certain things happen. And I don't know that that's the case with people like LeBron James, who have everything at their fingertips. And I don't know that going out to LA was a necessity to do those other things that he likes to do better.
I agree with you about that.
This is a very connected world we live in today, Andy.
With people around.
There's a company. There's companies like Netflix who are breaking the mold for production and video content creation and doing things in places outside of Hollywood. I mean, this is where
it's been going on for a while, though.
But it's been growing to the point where it's on a grander scale now, though, Andy. I mean, it really is. It really is.
I don't want to.
You don't have to be in the meccas of LA and New York at this point to really have impact.
I think it's just gone to the press level. Working in this industry, it's been that way for a long time. I'd say since 2010 or 11.
Okay.
In 2009, 8, and 7, if you asked me, I'd be like, you probably got to be in New York, LA. 2010, you started seeing the changes evolve, where you could see you couldn't see.
But I'm even saying
difference.
Where the power lies, right?
No, but I don't know. I think yes, I know what you're saying, but it was slowly dissolving. I'm not going to take away anything from Netflix because they've definitely got a power chip in this thing. However, I noticed it changing where people were editing films in Toronto and Vermont and other places, and there were good films. Texas and Nashville, like Cleveland, like good places where you could get good. You didn't see a big jump. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned Chicago, which is a big history in productions.
But even that's an even more reason, like, why you didn't have to go to LA.
Well, we're going back to LeBron. Yes, I know what you're saying.
Like, you didn't have to do that, dude. You could have had it all where you were.
We will beat this
and
drum.
The love and none of the nonsense.
I will beat this drum more as we get closer. I'm interested to see where every team lands in September, because currently, right now, I think it's a horse race between the Cavs and Lakers of who's got it better. It's pretty close. You got to give a little edge to the Lakers because of LeBron. But if you're being honest and you're really looking, a couple moves here and there, and you kind of wonder.
Well, I can tell you right now, I think that there is absolutely 0 point in looking in the rear view in regard to any of this as a Cavs fan, as a Cavs employee, as a Cavs player. I think that if we are going to create something new in this town, in Cleveland with this Cavs team, it's going to have to start by being grateful for what we had and looking forward from here on out, period.
I agree. And the Cavs have done that for the most part. All right,
Yes,
they really have. Okay, wrapping up the show is I know time is escaping from this Bucks Celtics series. Looks like the Bucks are going to tie at 1-1. I don't know if anybody really cares outside of Philly and Toronto about Raptors and Sixers. I've not been hearing a lot of buzz about that. A little bit.
Yeah.
No buzz at all about Portland and Denver. And then there's the Rockets and the Warriors. I am into
like
this series.
This. I don't.
I am into
this series did nothing but piss me off about the NBA.
I'm into this series. I say this is where I do put on my NBA cap and we'll be watching every game. I think it's great until tonight. I can't watch tonight. I'm too tired. But I love this series. I love the juice around it. Game 1 has a lot of sauce to it. You can tell, though, this is going to be a fight. Doesn't mean the Rockets are going to win. I don't think they will. But I like the energy. Now, this whole referee thing, and I thought Windhurst put it best, so I don't want to steal his thunder. James Harden, there's a turnover late. Game 3, they're down 3 points. Harden missed a 3. For all the missed foul calls and everything else, there it is, the ball in your hands, shooting a 3, and you miss. Harden's got to make one of those shots eventually, Jared. He's going to have to make one of those big game shots.
You know what? Here's the deal. Harden was 3 of what? 3 of 8? 3 of some, how what was he? He only hit 3 threes, something like that, right? He had 35 points, but he shot like a million times.
Yeah, he did. He didn't play well.
So there's that, right? There's that. We got it. If you're going to, we already know 3-point shooting team, the step back, he's got to hit his threes. The other issue, Chris Paul, you're not helping your team by getting kicked out of the game.
And he said that
in a crucial time at the end where those last couple possessions, they were in it. Even when they were down 5, they were in it. Like there were,
I know.
You thought, man, they could steal this. And some would argue that there was again, names gone. Why is my Steph Curry? Like, what is wrong with me, man? Steph Curry and hitting that dagger. You knew that was coming, but there's people that would argue he should have been out of the game at that point after fouling.
Well,
like that should have been right.
Look.
And then there's the other arguments of watching James Harden toss up a 3, kicking those feet out, trying to get contact to get.
Clay fouled him.
Just play the damn game, man.
By the way, Clay fouled him.
You're not losing because fouls aren't being called. You're losing because you missed a ton of threes. You're losing because you don't know how to go to the hole when you need to. And you could, if you wanted to, James Harden. You could. You choose not to on a night that you're shooting really rough. Like, I don't get it. Like, And the frustration and the being flustered, and I know the series, I know it's early, but Rockets, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It's going to have to change quickly because this series, man, this could disappear very quickly if they're going to play like that. If they're going to have attitudes like that.
I will say this to Jared's point. I surely will never root for the Warriors, but I got to admit, I'm not rooting for the Rockets either. I just want a good competitive series.
Man, you guys.
They're very unlike. Both teams.
It makes me even more angry because I want them to beat the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm disappointed. Like, man, come on.
Yeah, I definitely want the Bucks to win it all. I definitely want Milwaukee. I'm definitely on that train.
Listen, I told you I love a Tentacupo, so that's just where I am on that.
All right, real fast, and then I don't have much else. I mean, this week's been kind of
I'm done
about the
too,
draft.
and I've got work to do as soon as we get off the podcast.
I think unless something drastically changes, the Blue Jackets are about ready to go up 2-1 in Boston in this series. They have another game coming home in Columbus. We're going back.
Nobody would have saw that.
I have to admit, I'm starting to watch more and more of the NHL playoffs. I won't watch every second. I will say, Jared, I'm going to have to start keeping my eye on this. Because now Columbus is up 2-1 on Boston, which they just took the lead. They just won. The Blue Jackets are slowly building momentum. And again, I'm not a hockey guy. I can break down any sport for you except for hockey. Can't do it. Don't watch enough of it. But I will get into that series 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we saw the Vegas Knights do this. Was it a year ago, 2 years ago? I don't even know. I don't watch hockey again. That's it's tough for me to speak to this
year,
too.
By the way, last year Knights and Caps,
right? So I mean,
Stanley Cup,
and everything I hear about hockey is once you get into the playoffs, anything goes. The fact that the Columbus Blue Jackets got to this point. was something of a bit of a surprise anyways by beating a team that had the best record in the NHL this season. You're playing listen, I mean, teams like you've got teams like the Chicago Blackhawks, Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston
Rangers.
Bruins, all these, the Rangers, the Pens. Look, you've got teams with all this nostalgia, all this history, all this, and then you've got the Columbus Blue Jackets showing up out of nowhere. And even my wife's grandmother, Nunny, she tells my wife, and she says, "Hey, ask Jared, who the hell are these Columbus Blue Jackets?" Because she's a Boston Bruins fan.
That's fun.
Nobody knows about the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't know about them, but hey, there they are. And apparently all of Ohio and a big chunk of Northeast Ohio is buzzed about this.
And by the way, they should be.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, and I will start watching the games more and more. Real quickly, Wickren gets out of the bottom of the 8th, 2 men on. That's a Boilermaker for you, just toughing out a big spot there. You know, if
you can't help yourself.
You know, he reached for that Purdue Pete head on the tattoo on his right arm, just rubbed it a little bit and made that ball go a little faster. But my quick thoughts again, I like the LSU theme. I think it's cool. I like the draft a lot. Interesting to hear about Kareem Hunt. If you haven't read the article. It's on Pro Football Talk. I thought that was interesting. Little soundbite. We went into Odell Beckham. You know, the Tribe real quickly. I just hope, I know you are too. I really like Jose Ramirez as a person. I love his story. Yeah. I really hope he starts hitting because I do agree with Jared. I think, and the national drumbeat is starting to happen. The longer this goes, the worse it's going to get. So I really hope for his sake he starts hitting. And with all that said, it looks like the Indians do have some easier games coming up, so hopefully they can gobble up some more wins so they can get that win total up.
Don't forget, listen to the podcast by heading over to our website, andyandjared.com and clevelandandbeyond.net. Both of them take you to the same page. That's andyandjared.com, clevelandandbeyond.net. Two separate pages, two separate web links taking you to the same page. Try it either way. Also, follow us on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond. Sponsors, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com, andyandjared@gmail.com. By the way, a reminder, Jared is spelled Jarid. Send us a message. Tell us what you think about the show. Follow us on iTunes. Subscribe. Ask Alexa to play the show. You name it. It's all there. Wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever podcasts are available. And if we're not there, message us and we'll make sure we take care of that. Andy, go ahead.
I just want to shout out real quick because I talked to him recently. Thoughts and prayers for whatever everybody does out there for Matt Lode. He's a really nice gentleman. I think he's going through a really rough time with his health right now. He runs Northeast Ohio's sportsinsiders.com website. He's a really good gentleman. I've been reading his Twitter page here tonight, and I know he's not doing well. I hope he does better out there. Matt, we're thinking about you. Sad to hear he's not doing well in his health-wise. I just want to give the guy quick shout out. He's a really nice guy, very genuine, very good person, and sad to hear he's going through some health stuff.
Yeah.
I hate to bring it. Yeah, I hate to bring it down on low, but No. Again, I just talked to him recently, and he's a very good gentleman. So we all wish you the best, Matt. Get better.
Absolutely. And you know what? On that note, too, I should probably give a shout out to the family of Megan Sturgeon, a good friend of mine from my Buffalo Wild Wings and Boardman days. We were a very tight-knit group working together at that Buffalo Wild Wings. It's one of the best in Northeast Ohio. The group of people that worked there in the early 2000s is still very close, and we lost a really good friend, actually, last week. So Megan, my thoughts with you, with your family, and especially your brother. So yeah, that's it's been one hell of a week, Andy, I think, for both of us and for others. And yeah, so we're just hoping for the best for Matt as well, as you already stated. So, all right, brother. Well,
looking ahead again, Indians going to get some wins. Browns exit stage left. Time to not do so many storylines for a while. Cavs, you're almost less than 14 days out from drawing a lottery ball. That's really your Cleveland sports. And the other thing to kind of keep above is this Blue Jacket thing. This is fun. Starting to win some games.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch.
I'm going to start paying attention.
I don't know if I can see the puck. I'll have it in the background. I don't know.
I gotta admit, I'm going to start watching. When you're up 2-1 in the semis now, you're not in the conference finals. When you're in the semis, beating Boston, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. Thanks for tuning in. As always, talk again soon.
Go Browns.
You're gonna just say go.
Gayo.
Geaux, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Whatever.